Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, the Stanley City Council, Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. and it's for a final budget meeting agenda. We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance. If you stand and join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, we have a new council appointment replacing Zach, and I'd like to welcome him to the council, Mr. Jesse Wyrock. If you'd take your chair, I guess. And thank you, Jesse, for accepting this position, and I know you'll do a good job. Give him a round of applause. With that, we'll kind of jump right into this. And we're going to go to the final budget. Discussion on that?
Mayor, I'd like to comment that there has been no changes from the preliminary to the final budget, so we will be levying 50.75 mils. And I guess the only thing, if there's any comment from the public or any questions, unless the council has any.
So I was told we'll increase it 4 to 1 or.
So it'd be 1.80. Yep, because last year or for the current 2023 year, we had budgeted or levied 50.44 mils.
Okay, any other discussion on that? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ty, second by George. All in favor signify by saying, oh, yeah, we better, yeah.
Lauren? Aye. Jesse?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Hearing only ayes, motion carried. Okay, the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Or is there any changes or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Highbrider, planning and zoning recommendations.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we had our regular meeting last evening. Our first order of business was a mobile food permit for Reina Garcia and Anna Villarreal. And this was to put a mobile food trailer in the Black Gold Suites motel parking lot. There was a couple of letters opposed. One was from a neighbor across the street and one was from council member Weinbar. They were both opposed to this. After quite a bit of discussion, we felt that we're not opposed to a new business coming in. We actually feel we should support and promote new business. And there's some stuff, if you look in the letter from Amber and Derek Trudeau, I believe you all have a copy of it in your packet. There was a lot of complaints about traffic, trash, stuff in the neighborhood. And we felt that that was another issue to be dealt with, which we'll talk about that more later after we go through our deals. But after discussion, and it was agreed to approve their permit for a mobile food trailer to be parked in the Black Gold Suites parking lot.
Okay, is there any discussion? Any thoughts by anybody?
It looks like they haven't gotten all their stuff back from the health department. Have they done so since, or are they still waiting on that?
There are a couple things, Amanda can answer that better than I can.
So they are waiting on final approval from us to make sure that they have everything, and then they're waiting on an appointment. They have requested a final appointment, but they need to be able to put the truck where it belongs first. So that's just kind of a little bit of a holdup. I did let her know that I needed that health department number and then their tax ID number. The other stuff I just have not filled in because she just got it to me last night, but I've got the rest.
I would add to that, Mr. Mayor, that this would be contingent, opening their business contingent upon
The approval of the
those
state?
from the state and from the state health department mainly, and from the city. Yes, so it would be contingent.
I believe they need a fire inspection also, correct? And they have not, yeah, they have not contacted any of us yet on that either, so,
I'm
to my
sure,
knowledge.
sure they're just not aware of that.
It could be unaware, or it could be they're just waiting for this approval and then they can start kind of making those phone calls and doing all that stuff, but we'll make sure that they get it.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I've got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by George. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Our next order of business was a variance permit from Cody Garrich. He owns property on First Avenue Southwest, which would be, I call it the old Myers Oil property, west of the old lumberyard. And he would like to put a chain link fence along First Avenue. His variance permit was in our regulation book, it states a 6-foot high chain link fence. He would like to go to 8 feet. He's been having a lot of problems with trespassing and trash and garbage and just nuisance. One of the things that we would like to add to this is that there's a boulevard sidewalk along that street in front of the lumberyard. It ends after part of the old Myers Oil where the bulk tanks used to sit, and there was a wall, there's a sidewalk. After that, there is no sidewalk. Mr. Garrich would like to go right on to the property line as close as he could get. And we're almost thinking we should have a consent form between the city, allowing a city employee to sign a consent form to put this fence right there on the property line. It is commercial. It's a gray area. Does he need it or doesn't he? And we just feel we should add that into the motion to approve. Not only approve the variance, but approve staff member signing a consent form to put that fence on that property.
Okay, any,
Is it his property or the city's property?
He would
Fence would
he would be placing the fence on his own property.
Okay.
But it would be so close to the property line that we just feel the consent form would be good to have in place so that there is no discussion, no question.
And with no street access over there. It's not an encumbrance for like a view or
No.
look when you go to pull out to where it could cause an accident or an incident.
No, there's no, that's half the battle of the fence is to stop the traffic from driving through his property.
Is there will that create any kind of snow removal problems, Todd?
No, with the sidewalk being Amanda, can you tell me how wide that was? At 6 feet or 8 feet?
It should be 5 foot
5
sidewalk
feet,
with.
5 foot sidewalk.
Mhm.
They'll be able to still come and roll the snow up on that.
So there'd be a setback from the street to the fence of a minimum of 5 feet.
Correct.
Essentially.
But
Yes.
the city owns that 5 foot
Right.
of
No
property.
different than every other
Right.
boulevard
Yes.
in town. I'd make a motion to accept the recommendation of the planning and zoning and also to have Amanda sign off on the consent form.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second's been made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
Next, we had a variance permit from Will Thielen. He owns a house at 312 Third Avenue Southeast. This house was built many years ago. The couple that built it owned basically 2 lots. And they had an old house on one lot. They built a brand new house on the other lot. The new house does not have proper setbacks. Will would like to add on to his garage, to his existing garage, and he would maintain the same distances off the property line in the back. And on the end, he would be considerably plenty far from the alleyway. And because of the situation he's in, it's just one of those circumstances that we felt we needed to approve so that he can build his garage addition. He has a 16 by 24 garage now, and he wants to put another 16 by 24 addition on. So we approved the variance for
Move to
his.
accept the recommendation of the planning and zoning committee. I did check it out. And it's how it needs to be, so.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second's been made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
On the, in our concerns, that's where we discussed that we would like to bring to the city council to start a discussion about the Black Gold Suites. If they are having trouble with their garbage, maybe they need a larger dumpster, maybe they need a different scenario. If the truck traffic and truck parking is as bad as it might be, as it's said to be, we feel that we need to, and I did visit with the chief of police a little bit earlier. I gave him a copy of that letter and asked him to look at it and go by the recommendation of the council, just to see what's going on up there. Is there a lot of illegal parking and a lot of bad traffic, a lot of speeding, a lot of trouble? Because of this complaint letter, if you want to call it that, this is where we decided we didn't need to punish a new business because of something else. And if it needs to be addressed and taken care of and cleaned up, we highly recommend that the council would look into, between the city crews and the chief of police, to look into this and see what could or should or needs to be done to maybe alleviate some of this discussion in the letter.
One thing I've noticed over there, Todd, is where they pull out of that parking lot, the trucks, and leave the mud on the road consistently. I mean, if it rains, there's no choice. I mean, they're going to leave mud on that road. It would be nice if, I think, at the very least, if they put a lot of rock in there or something, they're probably not going to pave that lot. That would be pretty spendy, but
On my list of council concerns too, been by there every night for the last 2 weeks to kind of monitor what's going on. And it ultimately is a Big Sky diesel mechanic garage out there. Not taken care of. It's mud. It's everything that we've made Microtel and all the rest of the motels in town not allow.
Right.
So I do believe that us as a council have some work to do with the Black Gold truck parking, if you will, and the mess that they create for our public works people to have to try keep up with and clean up constantly. So
I've walked by several times in the last, I want to say, week and a half. Just taking the dog across there to kind of see if it's a continual thing with them working on the trucks, and it does. It's almost like they have a set up shop right outside of it, and it does. It's not a great look when you come right into Stanley and you look in. So I understand the concerns of everybody living there, but I agree with planning and zoning. There's no reason to punish a new business coming in because of an existing business's issues.
I would like to add a comment, though. I mean, I've worked in a lot of towns and I've been in a lot of places, and when you're living out of a motel and working in the area, you don't have any place else to work on your equipment. As long as they're picking up after themselves and, you know, like if they got to do a little bit of repair right there, and they pick up after themselves, I don't see that as being a big issue.
I don't think that they're picking up, like there's a difference because right across the street at Myers Oil, they are doing the same thing. I mean, they park there, they stay overnight. The same people go over there and they have to work on their stuff, and they keep the place nice and tidy. They don't leave it. Oh, I mean, I don't know if you've been by recently, but it's just the state that they leave it in. It's different if, yeah, they're sleeping over there, they're stuck in a Stanley for a week and they are doing that, but that's not the issue. I don't think it would be a concern at all if it was just taking place like that. It's the fact that it's not being taken care of.
Yeah, and I think, I think we can monitor that and make sure it is, but I just want to say, I mean, people do have to be allowed to work on their stuff somewhere.
Yep.
At some time, so.
go ahead.
Just want to kind of let the council know, in years past, we have spoke with myself and the previous chief, Chris Halverson. We have spoke with Black Gold Management that they cannot be parking the trucks there. That is not a parking lot. That is an empty lot. In our zoning book, it says you either need to have concrete or asphalt. So if they want to do that, that's what they would have to do. We have let them know numerous years in a row. And I'm sorry, but it falls on deaf ears. We do this every single year. And every single year they do the same thing. They tell me that they're going to look into it and see how much it's going to cost and if it's in the budget. And then they just move on and do it the next year again. If you guys notice around the perimeter of that lot, there's posts with rope. Curtis and Tuffy actually put those up because not last year, but the year before, they were just coming and going, driving off the curb. So if you wanted to pull your semi in there, instead of coming around and coming into the entrance of the property, they just go in and off the curb and do whatever they wanted to. And we were afraid they were going to start damaging city property. They did cut one of the ropes right there by the fire hydrant at the corner, and that's where that semi got stuck, kind of down in the DOT ditch. But I know that the chief and I have spoke about it. I am trying to find paperwork, if there was any that I made copies of. I don't have anything electronically, but I probably have it in a file somewhere of what Chris and I had brought to them before. They are always willing to stop letting them park there, but then the next season it just starts all again. So I don't know if we just need to be a little heavier handed or how that's going to work, but the chief and I are working on it.
Just to say a little devil's advocate, don't they allow parking right across the street though, and they have this sort of right there?
From what I've been told, that's grandfathered in because that was when Myers built that parking was allowed like that with just the gravel. Right now it's not. And with that being, and just an actual empty lot with grass and such, then if they make any improvements, they would have to go with the current zoning. Do I like it any better that there's dirt lots that, drag it out into the street and the public works fights it? Absolutely not. But I feel like there's just a lot of disregard when it comes to that empty lot over there that there isn't, like you were saying, at Myers. So,
Is that empty lot there?
yes, it's owned by the same company as the hotel.
Yes.
Like personally, I know, if we have an ordinance that says it has to be paved, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't care if it's your lot and you park on it as gravel or something that's not tracking all over the streets. I don't get a lot of
No,
heartburn for that.
I think you have to go to the issues, and I think that's the issue, is the tracking on the street or destroying property. I've seen a lot of rock areas where it doesn't do that. It doesn't carry out onto the street, and it solves the problem. And I think that should be an option.
And
Personally.
they can come in and apply for a variance.
Yeah.
Go in front of planning and zoning, and ultimately recommendation comes to you guys to allow that. But as of this year, they have not done that.
Yeah.
They've chose not to. And I think the difference, Marley, with what you were saying, Mr. Mayor, was that the gravel or whatever they would put in there does track less than what is in there right now, which is basically mud and grass.
Yeah,
And that's, I think, part of the problem, that it comes out so bad out of that lot.
well, it is. It's-
Makes a disaster.
It's not good the way it is. And that's a mess to clean up. It's not cheap. Yes. Yeah, if you could, and state your name and stuff.
Introduce myself really quick. Hi, my name is Angela Swider, and I have a suggestion. I think from other places that I have visited or worked with when it comes to construction or building and zoning, there's usually a really long list of contractors or concrete places or asphalt facilities. And I think sometimes that's very helpful. So if there's about 10 or 20, maybe 30 businesses that are willing to work on a mud rock quote for different businesses or different residentials, it's much easier to start building something. That's just a
Okay, thanks for your comment.
observation.
That's all I really have on that. Is we just wanted to bring it into the council, and I thank you for the discussion, and I thank you for looking into it. And as long as the city crews and the police department would look into it and see what they can do, that'd be marvelous.
Well, from your point of view, how do you think the planning zoning would feel about like doing rock or something like that?
I guess personally, and I'm guessing that the planning and zoning would be in favor of a variance for a crushed rock, asphalt, recycled asphalt, good gravel, equal to Myers. Myers has a little, tracking when it's wet too. It's going to happen no matter what you do.
Yeah.
But if they were to do as good as Myers or better, I think the planning and zoning would be in favor of it. I sure would, because that way then it's cleanable. It's going to keep the streets clean. The trash and the filth should be able to be cleaned a lot better. Black Gold, I think, should be told it's their property.
Yeah.
If they don't want to get a notice every other day to go clean your mess.
But there could be requirements for them to have a dumpster out there on that property if they're gonna have people parking there. We could have some rules incorporated into that, but keep everybody happy in this one, I just, these are hardworking people that are coming into town. God, I hate to, kick them in the knee, when they got to get their equipment running, that's their bread and butter. I've been in that position, so I guess that's why I have a little sympathy there. And,
You can do it though without it looking like a salvage yard.
yes, you can.
Yes.
And that's what it looks like right now, is a salvage yard over there. So I think that's the
Yep.
complaint. Not so much that they're doing it, it's, they're just not taking care of anything and they're treating it like.
Well, and I don't blame neighbors for
I would
complaining.
be upset if I was those neighbors. I don't blame them.
So, I guess what I think should be done is a letter, or people maybe present a letter to the Black Gold saying, this is the time allotment that you have to take care of this, you know, or we're gonna just basically shut this down.
Okay,
But-
I can do that.
And there'll be requirements, there'll be a dumpster, and it's gotta be something that substantial in there as far as rock or, you know, that isn't gonna track onto the road.
Right, okay.
And I don't think that's too much to ask.
And maybe that's the compromise that they've been looking for and didn't realize was an option.
Well, paving that lot,
It's gonna be expensive.
concrete or asphalt, that's not the best thing actually for those trucks either, and it's super expensive.
Right.
So. Well, thanks, Todd. I
Yes, thank you.
appreciate-
That's all I have, unless you have any comments or questions for me.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. As you can see, we are back up to numerous building permits for the month. A lot of them were on Meadow Lane, doing the difference between the existing driveway and the boulevard. That takes up a lot of them. There is that new 3-stall garage that's going to be on the 6th Avenue side of the Cassette property. And other than that, just have the top two, your single wide trailer and such are from last month. Variances and such that you guys approved, and then I approved the permits after. So if you have questions on the permits, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions or comments for Amanda? If not, can we get a motion to approve? Yes? I'm sorry, I can't hear a word you're saying.
Oh, if it fell on deaf ears. Do you have several businesses within the city that work with the planning and zoning to quote certain businesses for residents or for business operations? Do you have that? Do you
As far as like a contractor that's in town,
contactor or just like a business that just,
yeah, there's several of them in town and that's.
do you have a list that you can provide?
The Stanley website, if you go onto
The
the
Stanley
website, you can
website?
find a list of businesses and contractors that are licensed in our area.
Okay, what is that website? StanleyMD.com. Great, I've never had that information.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add to that a little bit, we're probably not gonna populate the list ourselves, because then if we don't cover everybody, it looks like we're supporting hybrid construction, and if we leave off dip renter construction, then somebody could be mad.
Sorry, Amanda.
Yeah, it would never be unbiased in the eyes of certain people, though. It would look like a biased list if the city supplied it.
Okay, let's continue with this. Anybody got any other comments about this?
Do we need a motion to approve?
Yep.
Motion, so moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying. Lynn?
George.
Sorry. When she starts pointing, I get really nervous. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, so the other thing that you guys have that I put out is this quote from Chamley. Chad had asked me if I would contact them and see if they can give us a quote to clean up the interior of the construction fence at the Greenstone property. I call it the Greenstone property. I apologize. It is owned by the city, but it was Greenstone for many years. It's just how we differentiate. It means no disrespect. So we did have Will Chamley come out yesterday afternoon, and this is what he quoted, $3,000 to remove and dispose of the wood, the rebar, and any other construction materials that are around those buildings. That is not the metal railings that are there. They are still good and they're on pallets. I did point that out to him. I'll make sure that I am available throughout the days that they are in town doing that. We don't have a start date, obviously, but they're going to try to make that coincide with tearing down the dangerous building house that you guys approved that 7,200 quote last month. They were scheduled to start tomorrow to tear it down. They're thinking it's going to take just one day, maybe a day and a half, but unfortunately they are a little bit behind on their jobs. Mr. Chamley had surgery recently, about a week and a half ago, so they're down a half a wing. So they are trying to get caught up. He's thinking if not this end of this week, it would be sometime next week. So if you guys approve this, they would be able to take care of both of those out the same time.
And are they disposing of the stuff themselves, or are they using our
They would be disposing of it. Yes, ma'am.
I think this is a
motion to approve?
fantastic bid.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table. Any other comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye to accept this bid.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Hearing only ayes, motion carries.
Okay.
You'll contact them.
Yes, I'll let Joe know tomorrow. And just to let you guys know, if you have been up there recently, our Public Works Department did clean up outside. They mowed and cleaned up the construction debris as much as they could on the outside of the construction fence. So from the right-of-way of Old Highway 2 down to basically it's our drainage ditch by the fire hydrant. So if you guys are up and about there, that is the Public Works that did that. So just a little acknowledgement for the Public Works.
On the south side of that road, that old equipment that sits there,
Mhm.
whose lot is that?
That's
Is
the
that
John
ours?
Ryan
Oh,
Edition
that's
lot.
not
It's
ours.
their, the John Ryan Edition is the investment group.
Okay.
So,
I was just thinking if that was ours, we could get that hauled off too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could have.
he's on a roll. He wants everything hauled off. So. It's good though. And just the last thing to let you guys know, starting tomorrow at 2:00, I'll be leaving and I'll be back in the office on Monday. I'm going to be in Minot doing continuing education for the North Dakota Building Officials Association. They finally have one in Minot instead of having to travel across the state. So be taking advantage of that. I have let all my contractors know that I will be available by phone and email whenever they need. Our instructors understand that we are all working inspectors, so they're very understanding if we have to take business calls during the meetings. So if you guys need me, I'll be available by my phone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, with that, let's move on to the Lagoon Road.
Okay, so everybody will see they have a survey exhibit in front of them that was done up by Bros, based off of all of the abstracts I found in the city's files. I think some of that land was probably deeded to the city about 3 times. Anyways, so yes, they did this based off of the abstracts we had on file. And as you can see, that access road there does sit on the city's property. Still haven't found any documentation that states who actually created the road, whose road it initially was, but obviously it does sit on the city's property, except for where it loops up into the Hovda property. And I know we discussed with that we might just need to grant them an access easement.
Is that a section line or a quarter line? Section line, so
No, it's quarter line.
It's a
It has
quarter
on
line?
there.
right. Because usually if it would have been a section line, there'd have been assumed right away, unless it had been closed, so.
Right.
I'd make a motion to have the legal department drop that ingress egress easement and get this put to bed.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Any discussion? Without hearing any discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
That should be all we need, correct?
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, there, that's better. City Council. I'm Greg Johnson. I'm the chairman of the airport. We've got a couple projects going on. The main one is, of course, the new runway. However, before we start that, at our Thursday meeting, we had a change in our council. Sam Friddle had been on there for several years, and he stepped off due to his personal schedules. And the board nominated and voted for Dakota Stamen. So we'd appreciate if you would ratify our appointment to the board of Dakota Stamen.
Move to accept the board's recommendation of Dakota Stamen to fill Sam Friddle's vacant spot.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second on the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. I've got a little handout here. Going to bring you up to date on our project. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess if you want this one, I can read on to somebody else.
Yeah, we could share one here,
You want
Greg.
me to share one or you got enough? Okay.
I've got enough. I got this here. So for the first page of this, we redid our budget plan, our business plan. And, there was a couple of factors. Number one was the cost of the land acquisition that we'd planned. It was going to cost a little more than what we thought. And then also to meet the deadline. We've got a deadline that was set by the Horizon Grant Committee for the end of November of 2024. And we're all really in favor of that deadline. We'd like to keep that ourselves. So in order to meet that deadline, we made a couple of changes. And we have that schedule that's in front of you there is our new cost estimates. As far as progress goes, the targeted ALP narrative is, we actually overran that budget about 50 grand, but the state actually kicked in for us and they're going to cover that. So that's a non-factor anymore. And that update is an ongoing process that should wind up about in April. But we've got a lot of positive feedback from the FAA and the engineers to continue. We're going to proceed. There is a, let's see. Deadline. If you go to go to page 2. And there's a lot of, that's actually a drawing of the airport over a picture. And you'll see there's 3 different choices of runway there laid out. There's a blue one, and there's a green one, and there's a red one. And they boiled it down to, they've eliminated the blue one. It involved too many wetlands. It involved, they found a site, historical site out there in a rock pile, which I guess the verdict is still out on that. But there's some, well, there's some scrap iron in there from probably 1940 or so, and they wanted to take a look at that and make sure that it was not of historical significance. Marshall Craft has already claimed it, so I don't know how that's going to go. Anyway, as you can see, the red one runs northeast and southwest, and the green one is northwest and southeast. Now, if you go to the next page, you can see that both of those runways extend up into the parcel. And on the third page, that parcel is, there's 2 parcels actually, that it's what's inside of the yellow marker, okay? We had started negotiations with the owners of those properties, where their names happen to be Johnson, but they're no relation to me. And we did come to an agreement on the price. Then we ran into a snag. If you'll go back to the map of the airport page, you can see that up in here, this is Westview Lane, up in the upper portion of this. So this is the parcel right here, what's outlined in purple. And those blue things there are wetlands, okay? And we run into a snag on this, and that is that if we acquire, so ideally at this point, we would acquire those pieces of property, so we're ready to start. Since we're federally funded, we run into a problem, and that is that if we ever go to sell a piece of property that we've purchased, there has to be an environmental assessment on that, to the tune of probably 50 grand. And they'll determine whether that piece of ground is environmentally suitable for the proposed use of it, okay? Now, the city doesn't live under this constraint. So in order to best manage this so that we don't end up, messing up our future possibilities of development out there, the airport board came up with a proposal. And that is to have the city purchase this piece of property. So these 2 parcels, it's no, it's parcel number
To purchase it.
51113 and 51112. And then the airport would purchase from the city just that portion of the parcel that we need. Okay? That would leave the balance of it in the city's name, and you're free to develop it. The airport board, we in our negotiations, there's going to be about very close to $500,000 change hands on this in order to acquire this piece of property. At the airport voted to pay the city up to $500,000 for the parcel that we need.
So it'd be a no-cost deal to the city at that point.
The only cost to the city is going to involve the specials.
Right.
But, yeah, and they want their specials forgiven, so. So, we would have, I've got a record of negotiation with them. I made them an offer. They made a counter offer. And I accepted. My acceptance was that we would have Jordan Everett draft a purchase agreement that matches their last offer. This was before we found out about this wetland thing. And unfortunately, Jordan didn't get around to drawing up the contract, even though I notified him. So at this point, I guess where we'd like to go is to see the city and the city's attorney proceed with the purchase of this. And then the airport would buy.
Okay, so if I understand you right, have our attorneys handle the purchase for $500,000 or for what your agreement was that you
Yeah.
agreed upon. And you're basically going to buy that from us, the portion with which you need
That's right.
for that same amount.
That's right. It was like, let's see. Somebody got their calculator? Andy?
Sorry, but he had to die.
That's okay. I hate him too. That's just fine.
See, Megan? He won't bother us anymore.
It was like 500, it's $12,000 an acre, so it was like $506 or $509,000. Okay. And then there's a specials now. I did make up copies of our exchange. And in my initial offer to them, all the specials are spelled out. Okay. And if you each you'd like a copy of that,
Yes,
and then we can see also, see, I just kept the whole string of, or the whole thread of the conversation on the email. So I don't know if you want to see this, fine. If not, I can just give it to the attorney, or I don't know what's appropriate, I guess, so.
There never was officially. This has been discussed. You see, I actually, in your packet, I did give you minutes from October 11th of 2022 that yes, there was discussion, but there was never anything final that was set in stone decided. It was just to let, the motion was to have City Attorney Everett pursue the options of acquiring parcel 6100511113, which would be Block 2, Westview Plaza, Second Edition. And that was the only motion that was made. So like I said, everything at that meeting was just discussion. Nothing has been finalized. I do know when Greg come to see me last week and we kind of discussed this, the only thing I stated to him that obviously the city purchases this parcel and they only, the portion they need, we would have to replat it.
Okay. Which I see no, yeah, I see no problem with that. So.
Yeah, no, I just stated that would be something we'd have to do. So obviously, there'd have to be surveys done up, final plats approved and submitted for recording.
Is there just one copy?
I know, at the time, our city attorneys thought best that we use Jordan Everett, to do this deal, basically. That was the intent at the time. And I understand, however, why you want to use,
Well, there's two reasons.
right,
Number one,
we got to get it done.
that's right. But number one is the consideration that we avoid having this property trapped in an environmental conundrum. Okay, we want it to stay eligible for development. We want to, you know. So number two would be if the city is going to buy it first, it'd be only appropriate that the city attorneys take care of it. And I still haven't heard from Jordan. And I think that we had a conversation with Tom Sauer, who's he's the head engineer at Mead and Hunt on this project, and Jordan and myself on the phone, we had a phone conference. And over that, we had decided to go ahead and purchase this thing. And I told Jordan at that time, I said, draw it up, let's get it out here. And that was at the end of June. And haven't heard a doggone thing. And I've prompted him several times. I just don't, he's busy. So I don't know that the city would want the airport's attorney to go and buy and negotiate the deal for the city. I think that the city attorney should do it.
I agree. I think our own attorneys should handle this.
And I like Jordan. I think he's very sharp.
Yeah, it's nothing, saying nothing
You know,
against him.
I think the guy is really busy. And I can see why. I mean, he's a good attorney.
So the taxes and the specials that are doing on both of those parcels out there.
Is that correct, Rob?
Well, I guess it might. Yeah, it's the larger, I mean, it's either the one and the one or the one and the one station. Yeah, the 180,000 if we use that, let's just use that, I'm assuming that 50,000.
Right, so you wouldn't be paying that out. I mean, it's just forgiven. It wouldn't affect your cash flow, I should say.
Specials and taxes that are doing only on that property, plus the $509,000.
That's correct. That's a head scratcher, I know. But this is a way forward. And this is, I mean, the airport doesn't run itself into debt doing this. This is a path that's available and very, very doable economically and very doable financially.
And it's a, and that is your offer from the airport to the city is that you will pay that.
We'll pay up to $500,000. Yep.
Where is the upfee coming? Is that, if we pay $509,000?
Well, it just,
We can guarantee that the airport will pay $500,000.
yeah, we will.
So
So
our
as you
part
can
would
see,
be the 9,000 plus the attorney's fees plus what we'd be forgiving. Right. Okay.
and as you can see, what we need 42 acres. There's 42 acres. And We need about 15 acres. Okay? Well, that's all we need. And if you look, the most probable option is the red option. Okay? And so it's just this portion of land. We wouldn't take the trapezoid out, but we just square it off.
Well, I think this airport is important to Stanley in a lot of ways, so I guess,
Well, the JDA, which is the entire county, funded a large portion. So, I mean, it's kind of almost necessary that we do it, especially knowing that the whole county is what they're contributing to it. So I think foregoing the specials, if that's our cost to it, and then you're not landlocked and we still have an opportunity for more people to come in and develop in that area, because that was my main concern is what if a business wants to go out there? So this protects a future business from, that land just sitting there, because I know how the federal government works, especially when it comes to wetlands. So I think that,
They're paying us back the 500,000,
Yeah.
and then we're essentially still at par as to where we're sitting exactly.
Yep. My,
Exception that we want to do. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't want the city to do that. That's not our business.
to be honest with you, after dealing with the other party of this, I think it has a better chance of being developed if the city has it than if they keep it. So, yeah. I'm-
My goal would be to have a list as good as
like auction off the additional.
have that. If we what we can from the last taxes discussions.
that's a motion?
Well, so then do we have to wait till everything's completed in the project before that can happen?
No.
No, this can happen now.
Right away to take that 15 acres.
Yeah, whatever. And that transfer can happen, as long as the city has it, I'm not gonna worry about it. I would like to add that, given our revised budget, I got this worked out, and we'll still have $8,433 left, so in that project fund. Things are looking up.
Was that in the
Mayor-
form of a motion, Chad, or?
Mayor, I do have a question for Megan. So since they're not going to need that whole parcel, I'm assuming we're going to have it replatted before we can actually do a purchase agreement. So that will be the first step in the process.
But couldn't we just purchase the entire?
We
amount
could,
and
but
then we
in,
can
but I mean,
plat it
to
afterwards?
transfer it to them, we'll have to make sure we get it
Right, but we-
replatted.
Right.
But the thing is, we have
Yes.
to buy the whole thing.
So initially, I remember you and I discussing this before, Greg, and you had mentioned the lot on the north side. Is that still part of the agreement? Is the city is the city also going to? So you got that large parcel. And that one, okay.
And
Okay, so
some of this is driven by, that's what I was, initially I tried to just buy what we needed. And in order to deal with them, we ended up going to buy what they are willing to sell.
well, the first step in this process is for the city to acquire that whole piece of property.
That's correct.
And I think that's what we should be moving on. I mean, so that no one backs out of
I've got a question.
at where we're at there.
In that regard, I've got a question for the city attorney. Have you had a chance to review the give and take on this,
The terms you provided me?
the proposal,
Yes.
the counteroffer and the acceptance?
Yes.
Okay,
Just briefly since you.
okay. And the acceptance is in that, was done with a text, but it's on the big blue. Okay? And that was texted to their realtor. And he gave us a thumbs up on it, Jim. In fact, he looked very happy about it. I don't know. It's not listed, so I don't know what his arrangement is with them. So, at this point, I don't really want to wait on that transaction any longer. It's going to get stale. And also, we have this opportunity, the path opens, you should take it. We're going to do it, We'll be done with this project.
All the terms that I'll need for the purchase agreement should be outlined in here.
They should be, that, on that page, it outlines all of the specials that were due and how much they had paid and so forth. And that was done last winter. So they probably haven't, they haven't received a new tax bill or assessment bill yet for this year. So those should be current.
So I'll make a motion to approve, accept us purchasing it for the terms through our attorneys, and then selling the portion back to the airport with the reimbursement up to the $500,000.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Jesse seconded. Any other discussion? Do a roll call.
Lauren,
Aye.
Jesse, Ty,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Okay. Hearing only ayes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
Can I get a copy of that too, Chad, when you're done? Can we get copies of that? The numbers with all the specials and everything too?
Okay,
I would have left
yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, moving on to the visitor committee. Anybody here for the visitor?
So there is nobody here for the visitors committee. They had met last Friday. They recommend approval for both, which would be the Stanley Commercial Club for $2,300 for their Grapes and Grains Festival and $3,000 for the Cowboy Fall Festival.
Motion to approve the visitors fund recommendations.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Okay, Stanley Park District request. And that's basically what we're looking at is a pay request for the pool.
Oh, I'm sorry. Amanda just pointed something out to me. So on the email I received from Brandy, they do to fill the position that, for Jenny on the visitors committee, they are recommending to appoint Jarvis Gemtrude to fill that vacant spot. So we'll need to also approve that recommendation. Sorry.
Move to approve the recommendation of Jarvis Gemtrude to fill Jenny Gastelum's spot.
Second.
Okay, there's
Who's
like
second?
4 seconds, so it should be covered.
Lauren, we'll use
All
Lauren.
in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, now on this pay request from Ackerman Estivold for the Stanley Pool. It looks like the pay request is for $207,850. And we'll need a motion to approve.
I have some questions on this first.
Okay,
If I remember correctly, this project was supposed to have been completed probably,
Last I talked to Cassie, she said,
thank you.
I think she said mid-October. Yes. Would you like, well, I guess kind of late at this point, but would you like
I just
them to
think
come to the next
for-
meeting and?
Yeah, for the next meeting to have one of them here so that
Yeah,
can
they,
speak to some of this because I do have another question. You see it through the paper, you see it through social media, the donations that they've received for the pool. Are they using them or are they bankrolling them? Are they just coming to us to take our money or our loan that we gave them? Where are those donations living right now that, I guess in my mind, I think they should be being paid towards these pay requests if they have pool money in their account.
yeah, and I think they are, but
I mean, I'm not saying that they're not. I just would like to know so that our taxpayers know that we're keeping an eye on this $3 million loan that we
right.
gave them with the parameters that we both agreed to. So yeah, if you could relay that, Lynn, that
You gotta come up to the podium.
We cannot hear you when you do.
One of the public members, my name is Angela Swider, and speaking for the public, I've had my building permit and tried to be doing my residential thing for over 2 years, and I haven't gotten anywhere. And I think the pool is going extremely quickly for the public. I'm so proud of them. I cannot wait to thank every one of them for the great work that they're doing. So that's just how I feel about it as a public person. I know not everyone feels like me in building and not everyone builds. If you ever have held a building permit, things are different, between how everyone varies how things are going. So I think they're doing excellent.
Okay, thanks for your opinion.
You're welcome. Thank you for appreciating my opinion.
Can I get a motion to approve this pay request?
so move.
A second?
Second.
Lynn, could you do a roll call?
Lauren,
Aye.
Jesse, Ty,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Okay, Bros Engineering update.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Our report is in your packet. First off, we'll start with Country Estates Water. They should be wrapping that installation up this week. They should have their connections made and they'll be to the point of disinfecting and getting pressure tests done. This week, I would think. September 30th is the completion date on that project, substantial completion. And we will be looking at dormant seeding after that so that we put it in after the soil temps drop and we hopefully don't germinate prior to the year. So we freeze that new grass out. Just an update, we came a couple of months ago when the contractor out there was concerned with water in that first hole. They were looking for a very large number in a potential change order, and where we ended up with that, with all the other holes that they've dug so far, we'll end up into that thing for about $1,400 and additional cost. If you recall, 2 months ago, we did a deduct change order in the tune of about $17,000. So the way things are coming out, we're going to end up coming in under the original estimate on that one. So that one's gone well. Phase one, I guess I should ask, are there any questions about what's going on over there?
One thing that I do want to make certain that is included in this, is there a 10%? Are we holding a 10% on this at the end too?
Yes, okay, thank you. We're holding, we do have a pay request here from them to the tune of $67,000. We're holding retainage on that, and we'll be holding retainage at the end until we have final completion and final acceptance.
Okay, so can that include the, as a council, I think we're obligated to make sure that that Jedka property is properly restored to the way it was when they were graciously allowed to mow on there with no cost. We did not have to pay a cost to the Jedka property owners so that that equipment could sit there. they allowed the city to allow these people to park their equipment and materials, gravel, what have you. So I want to make dang sure that that thing is put back to Jedka's expectation when they leave before their final payment's made.
Just let them know that I've already talked to the contractor out there about that.
Okay. Okay, perfect, thanks.
Could everyone hear that? It will be taken care of prior to seeding and restoration, so I will be set there. Any other questions on that one? Okay,
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the pay app. All in favor signify by saying aye. I don't.
Roll call on that, that's a bunch of money.
Oh,
You need to do a roll
yeah,
call on
we
money.
probably better.
Lauren,
Aye.
Sorry.
Jesse,
Aye.
Ty.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries, hearing only ayes. So your next order?
CIP Phase 1 is complete now. All the punch list items have been addressed and our final application is being processed, right? The final payments will be coming soon, or have we already turned those in? Okay, they're already turned in. You've seen those, Ellen? For Phase 1,
Are we talking a final pay app?
final pay app. for
I haven't
Phase
seen
1.
the final pay app.
Okay.
Just
We'll
the
make sure
ones
that you see the-
addressing the homeowners.
Okay. The
Well, I haven't
homeowners-
seen all of them. I've obviously,
Yep.
a preliminary, I guess.
Okay, the question about homeowners, we had a requirement in the Phase 1 plans that the contractor work with the homeowners if they wanted to extend their services to the house, to the home, individual homes. And that was handled outside of the project. That was supposed to be handled directly between the contractor and the homeowner, with the option of them being able to special assess their costs to their lots. If you guys recall that prior to me, but that was the situation. That has become somewhat confusing for some of them. And so in Phase 2, we're looking at, I guess I'm jumping right into Phase 2 in the process here. We're looking for a little bit of guidance on exactly how the city wants to do that. Do we still want to have the contractor set up to work with homeowners about extension of their lines with the option of being able to assess that to the properties? If we do go that direction, we are going to recommend that we put together a work order that the contractor gets signed by the homeowner prior to work starting, so that it's all defined.
Yes, I think we need to we've done it in everything that we've done up to this point.
I think that's a great idea, except for the fact that it still should be covered under that project. But for this reason, that it's a lot easier to hold that contractor to task by us and the engineering firm than by a resident. And so I think the city residents should be asked if they want the city to basically hook that up for them or have it hooked up by the contractor. But then the city basically managed that, because at least then there's some go back on the contractor that's doing the work.
I don't want the ownership of private utilities.
We wouldn't be
disagree that
owning it.
Where that curb stop is, or where that end of the sewer line is in the boulevard or whatever, from there to the home, I feel that we're already doing them a huge favor by allowing it to be specialed out in the 30.
And I'm not, I agree.
Don't want to manage private
I
property.
agree, but unless, there's a lot of them that aren't gonna understand how that works. And, I basically think there should be one contractor that does those in the future. I mean, it's, hasn't been that way in the past, but, and, I do think it should be overseen to make sure it's being done right. I don't think the city's taking any ownership by doing that. I just think you're watching out for your residents because they can't watch out for themselves. They don't all know how it's supposed to be.
But we don't go look after all of them when they do an individual sewer replacement.
That's true. They hire a contractor that's licensed and usually that's known.
Right.
And the city does go over and inspect it. So yes, we do have some input on that.
But we're also giving them the option to go with the contractor. They can always, if they're confused or they don't feel comfortable, they can hire a private contractor to bring it from the curb stop to their house. I feel like if we're already offering to special it for them, I agree with Chad. I totally love the idea that we allow it to be special, but I don't think that we should keep any type of ownership once it goes past that.
We're not keeping ownership by what I'm asking. All
But
we're
If
doing,
we're overseeing it and something goes wrong, that property owner can turn around and say, well, city, you took care of it. You should have made,
well,
it's your fault that
I
it leaked.
disagree because I think you can do that in a legit way, but
Just to make a point, for what they're trying to say.
Patrick, you want to come up to the podium, please?
So just to make a point with how this has kind of gone so far with phase one, the major issue that we've had is trying to track exactly what happened, because without us being involved, there wasn't inspectors there, and then there wasn't a paper trail on a lot of this. So if you put it as part of the second phase, as the mayor is saying, and then just the only part that's having an inspector out there, there'll be a paper trail to track later on and notes of what exactly happened, lengths and all those other details.
So then are you gonna take your engineering fees and your inspector fees for that and apply that towards that install of that, or is that gonna fall to the city to pay for?
If we're watching something for the city, we're gonna charge the city.
Exactly.
So if we are not watching something for the city, which is exactly the case in phase one, where once they put the curb stop in, we move on to the next task. And now it's the homeowners. Then we don't track it. We don't put the time in because then we need to get paid for it.
So I mean, there's an additional cost that if we're gonna be inspecting every one of them going into the home and you're gonna watch it, who pays that bill? Us?
So in phase one, I think there were 5 homes, correct? 5 homes that elected to do it. So we're talking about five installs as opposed to 60. Just to kind of keep things in perspective. Yes, potentially it could be 60 of them. An alternative here to prevent us from spending too much time on it, and then having a bill to the city. When we set up that contract that we're talking about, we're providing the contract to the contractor to use with the homeowner so that they can have an agreement. We can have a point where they sign off at the front end, agreeing to do the work, and then they can have a point where they sign off at the tail end to say the homeowner has accepted the work. If there's a question in there, realistically, we can answer it while we're still on the street, on the project, taking care of those things. We're not talking about camping somebody in somebody's front yard for a week here. It's not going to be a huge expense for us to keep track of what's going on. It would be fairly reasonable. That would be a way to make sure that it's all handled properly out there in the field, so the confusion that's coming up now from phase one doesn't happen.
right. I'm sorry.
I've added a few times here as a taxpayer and as a homeowner. My name is Angela. This is kind of the idea that I'm used to from other homes that I've had, whether they own the home or I was purchasing it. It's nice to work with businesses that are legitimate. If you're a homeowner, you understand costs. And if you're a homeowner, you have homeowners insurance, and you usually can't work on your own home yourself because they think that you might make it explode. So you have to have someone come in, and you have to have the city come in, and you have to have inspectors come in, and they have to work on it because you can't do it yourself. In my case, that's what my situation is. Not every situation is there in that light. It's just nice to have that option.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
Okay, so the reason why this discussion is kind of coming up, hold that thought. The reason this came up is because obviously preliminary, well, and they weren't really invoices, were submitted to me wanting payment from the city for these the private work that was completed by the contractor. Well, as I stated to them, they had a breakdown, but they didn't really, there was no way to prove, well, did they talk to the homeowner? Was the homeowner wanting to pay for it themselves, or did they want it added to their special assessments? So that's why kind of my discussion with Patrick was, I'd like it in the form of an invoice, and I'd also like the homeowner to sign off on it, whether they wanted to pay it directly to the contractor or have it added to their special assessments if the city was going to pay it outright too.
And I'm fine with all that. I just don't want to pay the inspection fee of somebody babysitting, bringing it into their home.
And the only thing I'm after, I'm not so much after an inspection as I am basically the comeback if they leave the place in a mess. I do know of one place that they destroyed her deck, and she really had, she was standing there like this because they said, well, they had done it and that's probably as good as they were going to do it. So it just left her holding the bag, basically. I don't think that's right.
Where do we fall in that, Megan? Legally?
Pardon?
I said, where would we fall in that legally?
As far as liability,
Yeah.
I mean, there's always potential for liability. If the city is overseeing a project that isn't completed correctly, there would be some potential for liability from the city.
But if we're paying for it, Megan, if we're paying for it,
But we're
it's
not.
our obligation to make sure that, I know it's specials, Chad, but isn't it our obligation to make sure that that contractor at least did what was required of him? The city's paying this bill.
That would be for,
It's not a homeowner that's paying the bill, because that's on its specials.
But it's in lieu of it. I mean, we know that's splitting hairs now when you're gonna look
Oh,
at
if
that.
you want to split hairs, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't think we're paying for
If you
it.
think
We're
about it,
making a loan.
if you finance something through a bank, your vehicle, and you go in for an oil change, you're not going to make your financial institution be liable for the work that a different, if you take it somewhere else, kind of same thing. We're just loaning this money to them for 30 years. We're not responsible for the contractor that does the work on it.
I just think we're opening ourselves up to a can of worms that I don't want to look into.
Well, I guess I just think that,
I definitely see both sides.
yeah,
I definitely do.
I like the contract between the contractor and the homeowner so that the accountability is there. And that the homeowner did sign off on accepting that dollar amount. That they're
and
gonna have
I'd
to
be
repay.
satisfied with that.
I'm all day long, I'll vote for that. I will not vote for having
Well,
anything
I'd
to
be
do with-
satisfied. I'm not asking an inspector to
Right.
stand there or even to the point of choose the contractor. You know, if you want Joe Blow and you don't, you know, it's your baby. The city's still gonna special that in some cases. But that's why there has to be a standard contract, I think, between the contractor and that homeowner. And I think that should be looked into where, you know, at least there's some teeth there where that project's gonna get done correctly or it ain't gonna get paid by the city. That if they don't sign off on it, it ain't gonna get paid.
Would there be a clause within it that after that, one of the projects done, the homeowner signs off on that, saying that they're satisfied with the work?
Yeah, that can be in there, but that's on the homeowner though, to,
But if
that
homeowner signs that off when the project's done, that relieves the city.
Right.
right, that, and that's what I'm saying though. I mean, I don't want any of it to come back to the city on the private side of the property. That's not my concern.
Agree with that too.
All we're trying to do is come up with alternatives to make Lynn's job easier
The
to deal with
contract,
this
that's
stuff,
easy.
to make sure that it's
I'm on
taken care
board
of.
with that.
I'm for that contract.
I got
I'd
no
agree
problem
with that
because That
100%.
makes our people's job easy.
But I think it does fix the problem that I've seen.
But when the deck isn't attached back to the house correctly, that's not my concern. I'm sorry.
Right, but that way the homeowner
The
doesn't have to,
homeowner has the ability to. not
doesn't have to
sign
sign off on it, so
Yeah.
the city ain't gonna pay it.
And I'm good with that.
And that's where I'm at on this thing.
I just don't want to be paying our contractor or our engineer to be doing private side of the meter work.
No, I don't think they should. That wasn't my point. So, let's move on.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
All right.
People like these good discussions or?
They're great. They're great. We always learn. Okay, CIP Phase 2 is sitting at the Department of Environmental Quality for review. Those plans are complete. You do have a set of them sitting over in the office for any of you to review at your leisure. If you have insomnia, come on up, take a look. They're fun.
I do have an electronic copy. It
Okay.
is a pretty big file, but I
It's a big
guess if
file.
any of the council members would like the electronic version, I can email it to you and hopefully you're able to open it.
Well, I do believe that we should have there should be a pre-planning meeting, or it's not really a, pre-bid meeting to go over these plans.
Okay.
For whoever wants to attend, basically. And so that we can have comments and stuff on this, so.
To help me understand what you're talking, do you want a city council
Well,
pre-bid meeting, or do you want one open to the contractors and then whoever shows up? If it's announced, I mean, if you end up with a quorum and it's announced prior to, it's a public meeting, and then you're okay, right?
yeah, I guess open to the council to begin with, and engineering, so that we can go through these plans and be assured of what's on the plan.
Okay.
Before it goes out for bid. Not after it goes out for bid.
When would you like to have that meeting? We did one similar to that with Public Works and Chad here a couple of weeks ago to go through the plans. To get the remainder of the council in place, you select it, we will be here.
Is the rest of the council, I guess I should ask this question, are any of you interested in having a meeting to go through these plans for phase 2?
I would. I think it's a pretty big project to be spending a lot of money on, so it'd be nice to know exactly what I'm saying yes to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's worth the extra effort. I mean,
I don't recall there being a requirement.
That kind of pops into my head too, that the public spending their money. And if they've got a complaint or a gripe or a wish or a question, I think that they absolutely need to have the opportunity to have at least the 7 of us sitting in front of them so that they can.
That's right. I got no problem with that. That's the way it should
Not to
work.
throw kinks into your scheduling, but
Well, if you want to set up, I'm just throwing out options for you to consider. If you wanted to set up a public input meeting in conjunction with the next council meeting, for instance, in October, what we're talking about here is a November bid opening. Plans are complete at this point in time. We could set one up to start earlier on the next council meeting evening, have a public input meeting. If you want to show up and go through the plans, then it's publicly advertised. It's all taken care of. We'll walk through it one note at a time if you wish.
Okay? Todd? Absolutely.
If I understand this phase 2 correctly, I think I have 2 properties involved in it. As of today, I know nothing. I know 0.
Don't you think it'd be nice to know?
You doggone well better have a meeting with us involved before you bid it, because when or how do we have the opportunity to say, you're crazy or this is great?
Amen.
So I believe it's a mandatory that you, the other one, I ended up buying a property in mid-stride of that project. I still know nothing on that one. So I'm a little upset over the handling of the method of phase 1 and the billing and the costs and the system. I know nothing. And in the purchase agreement of the house, I get stuck with any expenses off that property. I was very thankful to the Bros guys. I had a lot of complaints, the way that job was done. They had everything corrected, so they did a great job working with the second landscaper and cleaning it up. But there's no communication. So yes, if you could have that meeting, that would be awesome.
I think we should always do that. So we will come up with a date, basically. If we can get some input from everybody, maybe we can't do it right now, but get some input on what date would be best to just have a public meeting.
I think we just said it, and it's our obligation to be there. Find it on the calendar, Lynn, and pick the day. It's on you.
I kind of like the thought about doing it before council.
Well, I
meeting,
guess
too.
that was
Well,
my
yeah,
thought
it
too.
needs to
I mean,
be before the October council.
Oh,
but I mean, like the night of the council meeting, maybe just started at like 6 or 6:30.
I don't know, that could be
It's
a
gonna
3
take a
hour
while.
yeah,
Well-
no.
It's 150
Yeah,
143 pages of
We
plans
sat
to
at
look
their
at.
office for.
Yeah.
4 hours?
4 hours. I'd say, going
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a 3-hour review if you go through it and there's not a lot of questions.
Yep, if you want to go through it and look at every corner and look at everybody's
And
impacts,
And I think we do.
Yeah.
fair enough.
He's grinning because he's like, I already sat and looked at every corner twice with him.
Yep.
But we have to afford the ability for the public that's
Yeah.
gonna pay this bill or a portion of it to come in and I think it's gonna bode better for us in the middle of the project because they're gonna have them questions
Well, there's no surprises.
in the planning stage of it. And
It's not the normal operation in most municipalities, but you guys are trying to be very upfront with everything that goes on and very transparent with it. What the heck, let's do it. I mean, we can make it work.
Please, unless you got a comment that's really necessary.
Do we want to just do it the Tuesday before? which would be October 3rd.
Sounds fine by me.
Do we want to do it at 7 or?
Do you have an ambulance meeting in here that night? Better check your schedule before you commit to that.
There is,
I don't know, I'm.
there's nothing that I'm aware of.
First,
I know like the ambulance, well, they usually meet the Wednesday after council, but sometimes beforehand. But
Okay.
yeah, no, Tuesday, there is nothing that I'm aware of at this point.
schedule it then.
Okay, so October 3rd at 7 PM.
Should we try to do earlier if it's gonna take that many hours? Did you say
Well-
4 hours for it?
It'll take 3 hours, I bet.
3 hours without public comment?
Well.
Well, I
would
think
say that
some of
would
the
be-
stuff could just be highlighted. Do we really need to go?
Yeah.
That is entirely up to
I mean.
your.
I mean, do we
Well,
want to
7
do it
o'clock,
at
it's okay.
5 o'clock then?
No, because you gotta let people get home from work. and you
Well,
gotta let
that's,
them
I think that's why
be
usually you
able to
do
have
a,
Supper, I mean, I think 7 is fine, and if it's important enough for them to stay here till 10:30, that's, we're gonna sit here.
Yep.
So they can too.
I mean,
Todd won't have a problem if his block comes up at the 11th hour, he'll be here. So 7 o'clock, give everybody that chance for, get home from work and.
I mean, for what it's worth, I think there's a good chance I'm out of town that night in Bismarck for work. So. I just-
But that- that's fine.
I was just looking, I'm like, why does that date sound familiar? So, I mean, I know we don't need a, or we
We're
just
here
need a
to
quorum,
cast.
but
October 3rd at 7 is what it is.
Sure.
Okay, I think we've got phase 2 beat down pretty good there. Main Street sound system, we helped out just a little bit with Lynn out here to figure out how to move the amplifiers and the system down here to City Hall with Ace moving out down there. I was up here for other stuff, and so we spent a few minutes, opened up a box out here on the deal and met with Dakota Sound to get it figured out. You know, we spent a couple hours to go back on some plans that we had created back in 2009 and bring those.
So
I'll
is there a
figure it
bill
out.
on that one?
Is there a
Are you
bill?
billing that one?
Are we billing that one?
Yeah.
The,
Or is that a donation? Because it's a commercial club sound system.
right now, we've got, I've got an hour or two on the general number, and Patrick does as well. So however you guys want to do that.
Is there a reason it
And
needs?
It's
the
not
reason I
city
asked them
stuff.
too is because obviously I was contacted by Ace, because for some odd reason, nobody really knows exactly why, other than they initially already had a system there. But when they did the Main Street project and put in the new sound system, they decided to keep it there at Ace. Well, since they're obviously have moved and not sure who's going to purchase the building, what's going to happen with the building, we need to get that moved here to City Hall. And I had obviously contacted Dakota Sound to see if it would be just an easy, relocation. And as the gentleman told me that I spoke to, he said it probably was not going to be. He said would need to check on the initial plans, hence why I contacted Bros, because they were the engineer that was involved with the Main Street project.
So who owns that? Commercial club, is it?
To my knowledge, the commercial club, I think, helped put it together, but I was under the impression the city owns it.
I mean, it was
The sound
back-
system is owned by the city. We paid almost $15,000 for it.
It came about back in the day when John Anderson was on the commercial club and he offered up the spot. Be nice to know for sure who claims ownership, who actually owns it, so that when bills do like this start coming in,
The city does own the system.
I want to know who's supposed to be paying for it.
Nope, I've actually seen the bill. Yeah, it was almost $15,000. So the city paid for it.
Was there any resolution as to a plan then to move it?
So
Yeah,
you-
you want to check
as
with-
that's another reason, hence why I asked Bros to get involved, because obviously I'm not an electrician. That is above my head. So I just
So-
asked if they would meet with Dakota Sound on site to kind of see what the solution would be to relocate.
What the proposed solution is to take where that sidewalk box is over in front of Ace. We're going to hard pipe the conduit through that box because it will no longer be a point of intersection. Dig up and catch that same conduit directly out here in front of the fire room. Install a box similar, but a heavy duty one that can handle traffic because that one keeps breaking. So we'll put a heavy duty one over here. That over there could be taken out and concreted shut at that point because there won't be anything going on there. Come over here, install a box, take the sidewalk out over to the wall, come up to a 4-square box mounted on the wall where the outside microphone can be plugged into it, because it used to happen in that box in the sidewalk. Come in, and then the equipment will be relocated to this cabinet right here.
Okay, so
This isn't gonna be
I don't-
engineered though, right?
No,
Like this is
no, that
all,
we've done
you're
everything we
with your
needed to
input,
do.
correct?
We've
Because
figured out where to put it, how to get it here, and then that's it. So the city's got a grand total of 2.5, 3 hours of engineering into it just to get it all figured out, and then we walk away. We're not going to,
$10,000 worth of concrete work into a $15,000 sound system.
for 2 panels of sidewalk, I don't know, it should be less than that. It will literally be 2 panels of sidewalk directly out front here, because they can catch the conduit as it goes by light pole to light pole. Now, there is the challenge of colored concrete out there to make everything match, but one of the alternatives, if it doesn't match close enough, we can stain the 2 dark stripes that come off the building by the front entrance over to the curb, and you're set. And it will be an amenity instead of a hindrance to what's out front.
We got a few months before we have to have this done. I said we'd probably have a few months before this work is gonna get done, completed, so I don't see it being a fall project. Let's see some bids and some pricing on it before we just agree to go do that.
Yeah, and I do know they said there was an amp. There was a blown amp, and I believe
And
there's
one
a
blown
couple of,
speaker on the other side.
that that they're gonna include in the proposal too, so. I figured once everything was submitted for everything, then I just present it all to council.
thanks.
Not too fun.
John Ryan edition. We took a look at cost estimates out there. Again, we didn't spend a ton of time on this, but we looked at what we could do out there in the area. Within your packet, you'll find the map of the streets that are in good condition, fair, poor, repaired in 2015, not constructed. 2 cost estimates that are included. One is a breakdown for doing repair, rehabilitation of the fair and poor condition streets. And then the second one is only for the poor condition streets.
these phases are just the phases that they were built in? Is that what this is
Yes,
showing?
that's
These aren't
what
the
they were-
phases that you're
that's the
trying
way
to
they were
work in, right?
constructed.
Okay.
Or planned, phase 4 and phase 5 have not been constructed.
Well, I appreciate this. This gives us a
Yep.
nice insight as to what we can expect. I mean, and do know everybody that these are rough. This is a rough. That's not a,
Yeah, you didn't want,
we didn't
You
ask
didn't
for
want-
a hard and fast number, so don't, it could be more, it could be less. Don't expect that that's the true and fulfilling number there. We
Yep.
did not ask for that.
yes,
So
we left
it's
it,
more for Jesse because he wasn't here when we talked about this, so. Well, I think that gives us something definitely
Yep,
to
it
start
does.
working off of. It's more than that we've had for
Yep.
3 years up there, so.
Yep.
Appreciate the work on
One thing that you might notice and you'll look at it and say, what the heck's going on here? Cost per lineal foot, we've got it 290 for the fair and pour and 284 on the pour only. The reason there's a difference there is because some of those commercial streets are on the fair and pour list. And of course, that's 5 inches of pavement instead of 4. So you're talking about a 25% increase in your paving cost on those. So that price per foot, 290 versus 284 is a result of that. So
working on this.
any further questions for me?
Thank you for this, though.
This change order approved for JMAC. What is that? This change-
That's the cost estimate we did earlier for
Okay.
Country Estates.
All right, that's,
That's just for their first pay request.
okay.
The change order we put in front of you last month, I believe, or even the month
Yeah.
prior,
Okay.
was for the deduct. And then we had the unit prices that were established last time that we used for that $1,400 estimate that I've given you.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I do have a question. So now that this information's been provided, is this something I'm going to put on the agenda again next month? Or are we gonna give it a few months to look at, or I guess,
Well, it's not gonna get done this fall.
Well-
I mean, we're not looking at anything this fall because it would be. it's gonna
so
take
maybe
longer
something
than-
look at putting back on the agenda at the beginning of the year to start discussing again, or?
Yeah, and
I just know that there are some people that have called and
I think
inquired.
There's a committee being established with residents in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
To start helping us figure out how to move forward with it.
Okay. Okay, just
Last
thought
I heard anyway.
okay.
that's a fact.
So it could pop up on the agenda, I guess what I'm saying, prior to it. It'll just be something that you get notified of. It doesn't have to be reoccurring.
Okay, before we continue, we're gonna take a short break. 10-minute break.
So the spreadsheet is the right.
Is anyone else
What
gonna
about-
want to?
Sure. Okay. 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 Yeah, well, whenever. Yeah, because there was a couple more columns I wanted to add to the spreadsheet, but I'm not remember them right now, but.
So what I did was the date, the case number. The status of the case. And then that says that like under prosecutor review, closed, no charges, closed, charged, included, pending, or email. So that way we can share it online, so that way it's together. And then the next line was like, warrant requested, yes or no? And then, I said yes, we issue it, and there's a select section that says issued, and then just select it.
Okay, okay, yeah,
So
that's perfect.
I think it will cover it.
Okay.
But I'll start with that.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Thank you. Yeah, we'll see. We're out of Minot, Pringle and Haringstead. So there's three of us who work for the city of Stanley. So you'll be meeting them within the next couple of months.
You ready for this? Three more years. 3 years. I'm not sure if maybe it goes up with the next election, if it's like a seat that's filled that way, but he was voted, like, when we got voted in, it was Ty, him, and me, and then Mitten left, so then George came, was appointed, and so he would be filling his seat. I think that your appointment stays.
This Friday, so this would be the second. But you can do it 2 weeks from this Friday. Yeah.
Okay, since we're all seated again, we're missing a Lynn. We better wait. I did tell her 10 minutes. Did Todd leave? Okay, we will re-adjourn this meeting. And the next item on the agenda is a city pond ordinance. Discussion?
Is this necessary?
This goes a little far.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to decline this new ordinance, which I was in favor of.
Mayor, may I make one comment?
You certainly can.
So I know it was asked of me whether we wanted to include like winter activities as
Okay, that's
well.
enough comment from you.
And I guess I just informed them that yes, if they wanted to add it in and if the council, was against that, we could have it removed. So,
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is Linda Weinbar.
Speak up, Linda.
This is Linda Weinbar.
Go
And
ahead, Linda.
I guess I'm not,
Put the phone up to your head. Take it off speaker, please.
is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't understand why you want to deny this
Did you read
or
it,
turn
Linda?
this ordinance down.
Linda, did you
I
read
don't
the
know why
proposed ordinance?
You want the city, I don't understand why you want the city to be responsible for somebody getting hurt on our property.
Linda, did you read the proposed ordinance?
I did.
That is nothing what we talked about when you made your motion for the ordinance.
Well, then let's take a couple things out. I mean, I don't mind people kayaking out there or doing a little rowboating, whatever. But to totally deny it, I think you're out of your mind. I don't want the city to become responsible for some kid drowning out there or getting sick because we got blue algae out there growing whenever.
You cannot have a first reading on an ordinance that's not printed in its entirety correctly. We can't just make additions and corrections to this and approve it, hoping that the second reading next month, it's what we want.
This
You
ordinance
essentially
is,
start over. I'm not saying that your motion to have the ordinance goes away completely. What I'm saying is the piece of paper that we have in front of us is not acceptable to the motion to create the ordinance that you made.
this basically locks out all recreation on that pond.
You can't use the pond with this printed ordinance that we're gonna approve the first reading of tonight. So my motion stands.
Okay, with no further comment, there's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying
Roll
aye.
call.
Yeah,
Yeah, ayes are to decline this, right?
Correct.
right.
Okay, Lauren,
Aye.
Jesse,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Nay.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
All right.
Okay, hearing one nay and the rest ayes. Motion carries to deny this, to disregard this ordinance.
No, with the original motion that's out there to create an ordinance for this, Megan can bring this back to her office and rewrite this so that we have something else to look at next month. That is how I see this. Linda's motion that was approved by the majority to have an ordinance written, that's still valid to me, correct? It's just the first reading of what we have in front of us that don't work. So I guess my request would be to legal to bring us back something more in line with what Linda was looking for.
Which will require then Linda, I would say, and the second to probably give them some idea of just what should be in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or do you agree, Linda?
I do.
Okay. That is what will happen. We'll get some
Lynn,
input
was I the
from,
second on that? Do you know?
I don't
What'd you
remember
say?
who was second.
You did, George.
Was it me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, they're talking about the original
Oh,
one.
the
I
original
seconded
one.
yours, but not the original.
okay, so Linda and George will get with the attorneys and with Megan and probably before this next meeting and come back with something different. Okay, moving on to tax deed properties. In other words, the Greenstone properties and the vacant lot. Discussion. I guess I'll open the discussion. We have a lot of information in front of us, or, that we've gone through on this property. What we don't have is input from the city. And I think it's really important to have that input from the city and basically get their view on this. This is a big deal. This sat in the lawyer's hands for years, to get this thing resolved, let's do it the right way and the way a lot of people would want it to be done. With that said, I am going to name a committee and if anyone's got suggestions to make as to who should be on this committee, so far I've picked one. And I mean, we should have a committee of probably 5 people. I think the transparency is going to be important on this, and plus, just to get this thing right. I want this thing right. This is a big deal to me. Any other comments?
No, I agree with that. I think that if it went to a special committee to look at it and get real feedback from the community, because I feel like there's a solid split between people wanting to save it, the need for housing, and then the other half that just want to tear it down. I feel like it's pretty big. So I think bringing it to the community right off the bat is probably our best decision that we can do as a council for the people.
I'd kind of like to see a motion.
So moved to create a committee for the properties at the mayor's pleasure.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's move on to gaming permits.
So you should have 3 gaming permits. First one would be the North Dakota Equine Association, which is a local permit. They will be conducting a raffle on October 7th, and this would be held at the Montreal County Fair Building. Second one would be for a raffle and a sports pool, be for the Stanley Lions Club. This would be from October 27th of 2023 to February 11th of 2024. And another local raffle, which would be for the Stanley Wrestling Club. And their raffle drawing would be November 17th at the Montreal County Fair Building.
There's 4. Yep. The Lutheran.
Did I miss one?
American Lutheran Church has one.
Yep.
Sorry,
A raffle.
I skipped it.
Yep.
Yep.
Move to approve all raffle permits.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table and a second to approve all raffle tickets. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign for the opposed. Motion carries. The application for special permit to sell alcoholic beverages at a special event. Looks like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
There would be 2 special event liquor license. One will be for September 22nd for the Grapes and Grains Festival, which is being held by the Stanley Commercial Club. But the bar that will be doing the special event liquor license will be the 5 Spot Bar. And you'll see that all of the businesses have attached their form where they will be doing for the Grapes and Grains Festival. And then the second one is the Leader Bar, which will be for the Cowboy Fall Festival Ranch Rodeo with music to follow on October 7th.
Chief of Police, have you had a chance to look at any of these? Is there anything on here that concerns you?
I have tasked that to Lieutenant Jenkins since he's familiar with it long before I got here. And I know that he's working with everybody to deal with it. I haven't heard anything negative about it.
It looks pretty rubber stamped from the years that we've participated, Jesse. The wine walk and the beer walk thing, and didn't you have one though?
Not one time.
Yeah. Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second.
Pick one.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next item would be committee appointments, and these obviously would be appointments need to replace Zach, which would be on the Budget/Finance Committee, the Employment Committee, the R&T Water Board, and the Montreal County P&Z Commission representative.
And I haven't actually got that done.
Okay. How
So
about not even for the R&T Board?
I haven't asked anybody. Actually, right now, George is on the R&T, and my intent was to basically ask Jesse to serve on that for a while, for that R&T board. I didn't tell you that. Would you do that?
Yeah, I could.
Okay,
Okay, so for the R&T Board? Okay, so technically he would take his position, replace Zach's position on the R&T Board. Obviously, you'll see that his term was set to expire because it's a 2-year term, would expire at the end of this month.
right.
So this appointment he'll just replace Zach, but he will also
Continue on.
continue with the 2-year term, the new
Yes.
2-year term.
Yeah, I like that. Okay,
Okay, so you would like the rest to just be put on the next agenda?
yes, please.
Okay.
And so I have a chance to talk to people and ask them.
Okay,
So beforehand. Okay, let's move on to the police report.
Good evening. Just a couple of things. I'll try to make this fast. As far as the police department is concerned, everything is going really well. I've been posting a lot of stuff on Facebook to show the activity that the officers have been involved in, getting a lot of positive feedback from the community. In front of you, there should be a little packet. The first one's going to be from Baycom. It's a computer company out of Wisconsin. The computers that we have in our patrol vehicles are a little on the old side. They were purchased in about 2011. They have Windows 10, which is going to be expiring really soon. They're slow. These are a vital portion of our job because they allow us to write our reports out in the field, receive all of our information, be able to run cars and stuff like that. The computers need to be replaced. I got a quote. You'll see a handwritten number on there. I'm requesting 6 brand new computers to include the docks. This price also includes a warranty. The way the company explained it to me is that if anything happens to the computer, we spill water on it, we call them, they'll send me a brand new computer in 48 hours. So I'm asking for $35,262 to purchase those brand new computers. Those can be here within 8 weeks, and I'm requesting that it come out of my budget for improve, replace, or reserve.
Any discussion?
The committee unanimously agreed with that. Barring the fact we're going to be out of options here with Windows 10 expiring, so we got to make something happen here pretty quick.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the $35,262 for the new computers.
Okay, George has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Lauren second. Let's do a roll call.
Lauren,
Aye.
Jesse, Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you. The second portion in that is going to be a quote from Motorola Solutions. So the state of North Dakota is switching to a brand new radio system. This has been in the process for a couple of years now. Other counties have already started this program and are currently utilizing it. With that being said, the radios that we currently have at our agency, again, were purchased in 2011. They're a little outdated. They will not work with the new system that we are being required to go to. So the system was supposed to go live this month, but due to some difficulties with contracts, we are not going to be going live right now, which I'm very thankful for because we don't have the equipment to talk on this new radio system that we're needing to be on. So with that, I'm asking to purchase 7 new portable radios. The car radios are already completed and done. So I'm asking for 7 portables for our officers. That'll include the radio, the battery, the charger, a wireless microphone, Bluetooth, and the charger for that. The reason I'm asking for 7 is because I have 6 patrol officers. In the event that one break, I have a spare available immediately because there is a 20-week order time on these. So I'm asking for, with that also being said, there's a reimbursement program. It's a grant being offered by the state of North Dakota for the purpose of reimbursing small communities for making the requirement of going to this. We can get $1,500 per radio back. So I'm asking for $36,902.18 to come out of my 2024 budget. Same line item for improve, repair, replace to get us online to where we can communicate on this new radio system.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second's been made. All in favor? Well, Lynn, go ahead.
George, was that you that, okay, thank you. Lauren?
Aye.
Jesse? Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right, last thing on my plate until I,
Motion carries.
sorry, got a little ahead of myself there. Last thing for me to throw out to you guys is our impound fees. So as you know, we've been busier and busier. We have some very proactive officers, and the impound fees, in my opinion, were a little outrageous. The current police department impound fees include the tow bill, which we use a tow company that's from Newtown because it's the only one that's available to us at this time. The tow bill itself is $250. Then there's a $50 administrative fee and a $75 a day storage fee that has no cap and there's no other specifications to it. So if you have a vehicle that sits here for a week or a little bit longer, you're looking at $700 to more. And to me, that's a little outrageous. I am not in the business as a police chief or working for a police department to penalize anybody. We're out here trying to make sure people are doing what they're required to do. And part of getting your vehicle back, you have to have current insurance, you have to have current registration, and you have to have a licensed driver, and the registered owner needs to retrieve that. So what I'm asking is that the commission revisit this, and I would like to lower everything to the tow bill. I can't get around that. The tow bill is the tow bill because that's what the tow company does. I am working with a company here in town to try to establish a contract to where they can tow for us, and it'll be a lot cheaper. But he's in the process of trying to figure out how to do that. I would like to lower the administrative fee from $50 to $25. I would like to lower the daily storage to $15 from $75. And I would like to take out weekends and holidays. And I would like a 45 calendar day cutoff. And this is going to ensure that people will be able to come see us, get their property back, and be legal to operate on the roadway, which is what I'm kind of trying to do here.
Motion to approve the changes.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions for Chief?
How many impounded vehicles do we have right now?
I want to say there's about seven or eight of them that are in there. And a couple of them have been in there for 3 or 4 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the Public Works report.
Hello, my first quote is from Gravel Products. It is for the salted sand that we use in the wintertime, and that is for $6,400, and it will be 200 tons. And then we pick it up at their gravel pit.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
Okay, and then my second quote is from John Deere for a snowblower that will fit to our skid steer. And that is for $8,200.
So just to clarify this a little bit for Tuffy, or on Tuffy's behalf, we use that John Deere one right now to clean the sidewalks when the state rolls all of their snow up on it. We've destroyed the snowblower once for sure already. We replaced it last year with a brand new one. And now with the additional literally mileage of walking paths that were installed, by taking them on and being part of that project, we have to keep them cleared also throughout the winter. And the skid steer attached snowblower is much more of a industrial type piece of equipment versus our little John Deere that we have. We'll still use that the smaller one for areas of less impact, but the bigger jobs, if you will, do require that bigger piece of equipment.
Did we get more than one quote or?
We got just the quote from John Deere because it's a John Deere snowblower or skid steer. We could get we can get a quote from Stanley Equipment for essentially the unit that fits on there, and I'm guessing that it's going to be this Erskine or relative to that, because that Bobcat makes their own, but I don't know that John Deere has their own.
Yeah, they're, I think, all pretty
aftermarket
compatible.
type. Yeah, but it's rated to the piece of equipment by the flow rate, the high flow, whatever. So we can easily get that second quote. I think would be advisable. Since we do have 2 people in town that sell them, I think that they both should have the opportunity to. Would that be issue to go talk to Ryan and see if he can give you a bid on a snowboard that will hook to your John Deere skid steer?
Yes, I can do that.
Could we make a proactive motion, like to approve it up to what they'd have to be lower, so 86?
I think we could make the motion to accept the lowest of the 2.
Okay, for purchase. So moved.
Does that give the opportunity to rebid then?
No, you just give it, she's not gonna share that bid with Ryan. She's gonna go ask Ryan Jelstad for a bid for a snow blower, and if he comes in at whatever that his dollar amount is, if it's less, then we go with him. If it's more.
Did we not just say it on public record what the cost was?
No.
Yeah, we did.
Oh. Well, if he reads it, I guess then he's got an upper hand, but it wasn't intentional that way, so.
Yeah.
No ill will.
Get it tomorrow.
Okay.
There's a motion to approve it.
In that case, I second.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Okay. George, second. All in favor signify by saying, and that motion, before we take the vote, I guess, was to take the lower of the 2 bids. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
Okay, and then one more thing. On this Thursday, the 14th at 10 a.m., I will be meeting with Seth from Bechtold Paving to talk about that bigger patch by Subway. So if you guys would want to join us, you're more than welcome to.
At 10, you said?
Yeah, 10 a.m. this Thursday, meeting on site at 5th Street Southeast and 12th Avenue Southeast.
Okay,
That is it.
Thanks, Duffy.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I do have a couple things to add to the Public Works. Brady Odness, as you see in your packet that you received, he did submit his resignation. I'd like to make the motion to accept that resignation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed.
With
Motion
that, I believe the recommendation would be to advertise for that position at the entry level for Public Works
Okay.
employee. That's a motion.
That's a second.
We have a.
Motion to advertise for the open spot.
Are we doing it at the same salary or are we just doing it based on experience?
It's gonna be based on experience to begin with. We
Okay.
gotta see what we can get. I mean,
Can we
You-
do the advertising again still like on Zillow, not just in the paper? And just like that we can get?
tell Cindy we'll be home shortly.
Missed it, sorry.
I said, tell Cindy we'll be home shortly.
Wasn't.
So that is a motion, yes.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Already got the second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, the next thing that we dealt with as a committee was on, and forgive me, I don't know the address, I don't know the street intersection, but it's the Cliff and Judy Score residence. During phase one, there's a tree in the boulevard that supposedly was damaged during the work of the street being replaced up there, to the point where it was, the main roots were cut and it was in danger of tipping over. So they hired a tree contractor to come in, cut the tree down and haul the debris away. And it was, I believe the bill was $650 or
I think it's just 600.
600, somewhere right in there. The committee talked about it, and with it being in the boulevard, and there really was no record of any of it, but the tree is gone. I mean, they did, in good faith, they did take it down and dispose of it. And it's a recommendation of the committee that the city does pay that bill for that damaged tree, the removal of it. That was the request of the Score family.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second's been made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
Next thing I got is we did receive a complaint from an individual up in the Ryan Edition with the condition of the roads. There's really nothing that we can do more than what we're doing now, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that we did receive a written complaint into the city hall and it was passed on to us and we talked about it. And with our work that we've done that Rose has helped us with, that's part of that path forward to correcting that complaint. And, you know, I mean, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do immediately to make it good, if you will, other than what Public Works team is currently doing. They keep track of it. They put gravel in when they need, they blade when they need. So that's where we're at on that. Just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we had one of them. One last thing on the Public Works side of things is the street in front of the public or in front of the police housing. Right now, that's a gravel street and it is technically our street. So that needs to be put on, yeah, it is. It's ours.
I've done some research myself. According to the plat, and I remember vague discussions that until they were going to pave that, the city was not going to take possession of that road. And from what we found in one of the minutes, it stated that they were going to pave it once they sold all the lots. Well, I don't believe they've sold all the lots, but there's been no further discussion of it. The city has not maintained that since that area was developed prior to.
I don't see how we can't, because the people that live there, we tax. We tax at the same rate that I'm taxed at my property. And we supply them no services because of that tax. So is your recommendation as the auditor to alleviate their taxes?
Well, no, but I'm just saying that most generally with your roads, I mean, give the exception of country estates, I mean, but that obviously came in after the fact. But most generally, you know, we don't maintain the roads unless they're done up to city standard and specs. Like I said, I'm just recalling previous discussions, and I know it was not ever dedicated on the plat itself, just the other public.
So was that just
Utilities.
comment then that was made, or is there signed documents that
And
state
that's the
that?
bad thing is there's no signed documents either, you know.
So then, with that said, I believe that as a city, we're obligated to supply snow removal. We're obligated to supply a smooth driving surface for them people out there.
One, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just, like I said, just based off
Right.
of previous discussions showing that there was no dedication on the plat itself, that it was a public street. So I'm just going off of things that were previously discussed and.
And it's gotta, I mean, there's gotta be something because it has a name and there's a sign put up out there. Whatever lane, I don't remember what the.
Valley
what it's
Drive.
called, Valley Drive, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean.
But that wouldn't be
there's
much
addresses,
different.
I
I guess I
and for
do
no
have
more
one
than what it
comparison.
is, I just don't think that we're supplying the services that we're taxing for out there. So I think we're obligated to make sure the snow's removed and make sure the road is passable. That's my opinion, that just came up.
Like I said,
So
I'm not-
That needs to be discussed amongst you, but I just don't feel it's right that we can tax somebody and not supply them the same benefits as the rest of the people.
We're talking about the little loop right past the police
Yeah.
housing, correct?
Yep, there's like
Yep.
4 maybe homes back there, 3.
Yeah.
Something like that.
3 or
Yeah, because I think
4.
one of the houses actually owns 2 lots.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
actually right next to the
Yep.
law enforcement fourplex.
So I guess I'd like to hear everybody's opinion, not just mine.
You'll have to go up to the podium.
Unless you got a really pertinent comment.
Angela Swider again. Since you're gonna survey roads, maybe you could put in the budget for next year to survey all of them, because there's quite a few, maybe over by the Stanley Elementary, that need a clear path because of some of the gravel that's come up. And, you know, since you're really
We're not
concerned.
talking about surveying
We're not
roads
surveying
though at
anything.
all. We're just talking about.
Well, we should
maintaining
do a
roads
survey
for
of
who
all of it as a whole, because most of the time they survey all of it and they go around to each price point instead of, you know, just one specific thing. So it becomes a huger job for the city to not just go by each individual complaint, you know, once every 10 years. Just a suggestion as a citizen. Thank you for listening.
So Chad,
And the final thing that I got for the Public Works is the recommendation to buy the GPS system, the R2, if you will, to create our geospatially correct city. It's going to help Amanda and her department with virtually everything that she touches, and Tuffy and her people as far as knowing where block valves are, knowing where curb stops are, once they can survey them in. And the price for the unit and the 1-year subscription and the software to operate it was $16,868.
Thought we ordered that last year.
No, we talked about it last year and they finally got the pricing and we visited with Zach when he was at Rose and he
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying
I gotta
aye.
call roll on that. It's expensive.
What's that?
I'll roll.
Oh, okay.
Lauren?
Aye.
Jesse? Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
I,
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right.
Okay, hearing only ayes, motion carries. Chad, let's step back to the last topic before you move on to make it clear. Maybe you want to make it a motion or whatever, that we take that on as that part of the city streets. Because right now, we're leaving it and it's not clear to me.
I agree.
agree.
I guess I would make that motion that is included in our city street system.
I would second that motion.
Okay,
Jackson, we gotta maintain the roads.
it's already that way.
It's platted, it's just not listed as a city street from what I understand. Because when you go look at the plat, it's drawn out. The parameters of the road and the cul-de-sac at the end, they are on the plat. So the street is platted.
Okay, I just, not to argue with you, that's why I'm glad you guys are making the motion, but a comparison to that would be over in Prairie Estates, second edition. That road was actually made private, so the city is actually not required to maintain it. That was actually put on the plat. It does have a street name, but it is labeled as a private road, so the city does not have to maintain it.
And I'm good.
So that's why I'm glad you guys are making this motion to
Because
clarify.
obviously those property owners chose to keep it
Exactly.
and maintain it themselves. These property owners did not.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
no,
sign.
no, I have a question.
Linda, you're gonna have to pick your phone up again.
I have a question.
Okay,
Who owns that area where this street goes?
Who owns the street, Linda? Is that what you said?
No, who owns that development?
We're having a hard time hearing you,
I don't
Linda.
think anybody
Property
owns the
owners.
development. It's personal property out there now. I know there's the CSW family owns 2 lots out there. Help me, Lynn. I don't know the names of the,
I think the county actually owns the one that's kitty corner, kind of across the street from the law enforcement fourplex.
yep, you're right.
And
there.
obviously we own,
The
property.
fourplex.
I mean, yeah, obviously it was Montreal Builders that I don't know if they went with Montreal Builders as the development or if they just did it as Chris and John. That I don't know.
I don't either.
But I mean, yeah, there are other property owners. I mean, it's not just the development.
Right.
So,
Okay, but it's still not, we have not acquired it as a street.
Linda, we can't hear you.
So we have not acquired it as a street or.
Still can't hear you, Linda.
I think what she's asking is if the city's acquired it. Is that
Are
what you said,
Are you
Linda?
asking if the city's acquired it, Linda?
We have not accepted this as a city street. Yes, it has a sign, but like Lynn said, there's other properties out there or developments that are private. So maybe.
What
they
she's getting at
share
is
their
she's,
own.
that obviously the city has not made any official acceptance up the street. And that's kind of what I was getting at with you, Chad, is that I couldn't find anything that showed that we actually accepted the
So
streets.
actually, we just did that.
Yep, and that's what you guys are doing now, Linda. That's what you guys just voted on.
That's why I said I didn't want to leave it that way.
So if you would like to change your vote, Linda, on that, now that you're clear, you sure can.
I guess.
What was that, Linda?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, let's move on to auditor updates.
Okay, so a couple things, obviously, you know, notice there's a notice of recall of a special election. After my discussion, another discussion with the Secretary of State, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm learning as I go with this. I've never done an election because we've always done it in conjunction with the county, so this is new for me, even doing a special election. So, I was informed that with me being the filing officer where the petition had to be filed, and I'm the one that had to validate it, but I'm actually the one that had to call the special election. So I had to do it within 95 to 105 days from the date that I validated it, which I did on August 28th. Notice was sent to the council member plus published in the paper. Petitions can now be picked up for anybody that would like to run for the city council position. And the deadline for those positions would be Tuesday, October 3rd by 4 p.m. Anybody have any questions?
Does the recalled council person have to file a petition? Are they
No,
automatically
because
assumed on the petition or on the ballot if they
that
wish?
individual automatically goes back on the ballot because they've already did their petition and statement of interest when they initially.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okay.
Where will the election be held?
Well, I'm assuming we will hold it here since it would just be for just the council, you know, one position. And I'm obviously putting a timeline together of things. I'm probably going to have to look at doing some election inspectors, probably maybe some clerks, some judges. Like I said, I'm still kind of checking all into all of this, putting a timeline together. And once I got that fully figured out, I will get a copy to each of the council members so that they're just kind of aware of how things are proceeding. And I've already checked with the county, or well, I had actually Joan did, instead of us actually ordering our own envelopes for like absentee ballots, that we could just use the counties, but obviously we'd put the city of Stanley stamp on them to send out so that we don't end up having to order more than we're going to need. So, and like I said, I'll probably determine with the Secretary of State for ballot and stuff like that. So like I said, I'm just kind of, as I'm going along, I'm learning and putting things together. So. Okay, second thing, you'll see that there's an email with a flyer for what's called Living Local app. So I know there are other communities around us that are actually have done this. I haven't. Last time this had come about, they've actually changed a lot of things. Before, like they'd actually require you to have a number of people like serve on a committee to put things together to put on this app. They have now changed that and said that they will actually build everything for you. And it would be, this is through the state. The state has extended to do 3 years at no cost. And they are currently working with 80 cities throughout North Dakota alone. So, I mean, she brought this up to me again. I thought I'd present it to council and kind of get their input. All I know is initially why I didn't want to do it the last time is because it's not something I have additional time to continue to update. Sometimes I'm lucky if I can keep the website updated.
So as of right now, it's free for the 3 years, you said?
For 3 years.
I think it's a great idea then.
I agree. I'll second that motion.
So I'll make an official motion to move forward with the Living Local app.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
And the last thing is there is a letter in there from Enbridge. Guess that's just an FYI so that everybody is aware. I really can't answer any questions if you have any, so. I did include though, obviously from the county's GIS, just so you could see where the property is located that they're referencing to, where the pipeline goes through.
It looks like to me they're transferring their right away.
Yep,
So
I don't think there needs to be any official motion. It's just obviously notification to the city, so. So I said an FYI for,
Yep.
and that's all I had.
Okay, we'll move on to attorney updates.
And I have no updates, other
Okay.
than, we'll be in touch over the ordinance, and we'll be in touch with the, airport personnel, and I think that's everything. Right?
Okay,
And that, yes.
okay, we'll move on to council concerns. Lauren?
I just wanted to touch base if we ever looked into getting the mats through the laundromat. I know we talked about switching that, and I wasn't sure if we've done any more.
Okay, so Anne had checked into it. Obviously, they would be willing to wash them. The only part I haven't gotten a chance to check into is who we'd obviously have to purchase the mats. It's not something they would just
Correct.
wash the mats. So just haven't gotten that far into checking into where, a place to purchase the mats from that would be the best price,
That's it for me.
Okay, Jesse?
Yeah, just something, just when we were talking about the recall stuff, I'd be interested, just kind of keep it rolling. I'd like to know how much time we spend and then, what kind of dollars, just a rough estimate to go into this, just for my sheer curiosity as a taxpayer once this is all said and done. So just something unofficial, I think it'd be kind of interesting to know how much this costs. And then I just wanted to give a plug out to our police department here. I mean, myself, as a taxpayer, I've noticed a substantial difference in the department, and I just wanted to applaud any officers. I don't know if they're, listening, but man, it's been kind of a breath of fresh air. So pretty excited for the trajectory on that. So that's all I have.
Okay, thanks. George? Linda?
I'm good.
Okay, thanks. George?
I'm also okay.
Chad?
Okay, I got a couple things. This year we need to remember that the big bank carryover on vacation is the end of 23. We're not doing that. So are we all people? Are we kind of good? Are we going to be short staffed with them trying to cram it all in at the end of December? Just so that we're monitoring whoever, Tuffy and her group, you and your group, Amanda watching your own, to know that they're not gonna lose it because we're not gonna carry over another big batch of vacation into 24.
I'd say in my department overall, I think Ada's still got some to use up, but I know she's got some vacations planned coming up here. But otherwise, on my end, most of it's pretty good, but I do know probably a couple, just one? Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I
All
just
three, I
don't want to
was,
see them lose that. I mean, and that's the reason I'm asking, not to try to micromanage anybody. I just don't want to see our people give up vacation days.
Yep, so I have vacation time in November and Jane is speaking of nose Fridays. This is the ski house ones. And then Brian only has a couple. He's going to use it.
Okay, all right, that was my concern there. The next one I have, just because of your comment that you just made about your time, how's the cross training coming? We're paying the deputy auditor to be able to step right in and take care of payroll or to whatever some of those things are that you're gonna need help with, or how's that cross training going? Are we getting there?
oh yeah, I mean, I know Ada could do it if something happened and I was gone, you know. If slowly have been trying to show Brianna a few things, because there was a week when Ada was actually on vacation, but sometimes just because I was trying to do Ada's job and do my job, it wasn't so easy for me to just sit down and take more time, but I did kind of show her some of the basic stuff like doing some of the utility billing, and so I have started showing Brianna some of that as well.
Okay, so make sure that you keep blocking yourself some time for that so that you can have that extra help when they're sitting right there. So, and then the last one I got is it's been a while since it's came up, and there's been some heated discussions with contractors in the city of Stanley on different aspects that we look at as far as what's okay, what's not okay. And I think a lot of it is probably going to be spelled out in that building code handbook. Is that done, printed? Can we get that in the hands of them? Because that's been sitting there on the burner for a long time.
Yep, as I told the P and Z Commission the last time they brought it up, the thing is I've actually had to start taking it home to work on because there's just been so much going on, especially now with the special election coming up, this thing coming up. I'm not finding the time to work on it during the day when I want to. It's not feasible.
Okay, so can I make a recommendation that I think will help you out a bunch? And I hope Amanda doesn't come over here and slap me right alongside the head, but
Well,
can
no,
you
it's
pass that
already-
off to her and
Yep.
let her compile that so that we can get this into our contractors and our homeowners and the general public like her that is wondering about some of this type of stuff? Because the work was done, they were rewrote.
And everybody has to remember, it also took them almost 2 years to go through all of it. I'm not going to be able to just finish it in, a few weeks. I mean,
I didn't say that. Don't go getting all
I know, it's
messed over
just,
there. I'm trying to.
I'm
give you
trying
an
my
aisle
best to get it
some
done.
help
It's just-
To get it done. You have to be able to pass off some of that work to the people that can manage it for you so that our taxpayers have access to it.
and I
It
understand
can't
that.
fall to you and you just own it totally. So I would appreciate if you'd hand it off to Amanda and let her do that work for you so that it can be put into everybody's hands.
Okay.
And that's what I got.
Okay, let's move on to the judge's report. Has everybody had a chance to look it over?
Yep, motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to approve. Is there a second? George? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, let's move on to the bills. Has everybody had a chance to look over the bills for the month?
Yeah, can you
If so-
explain, Lynn, what the Badlands environmental what, you're asking what fund? What is that?
That's the asbestos testing that had to be done
Oh,
at
okay.
the Schmies house that was demoed. Or,
I'd say that would be, to me, that's a general fund that gets attached to that property.
And I think that's the only bill that's coming so far.
Okay, and then Mosca Design. You're asking, what's Mosca Design?
That was the Christmas decorations that was approved last month.
Okay. You have motion, George, what do you want to pay for it out of?
I don't know.
And pay out of these out of the general too.
Probably out of general.
I think so. That way, then it can be attributed to all the people in Stanley being able to enjoy it, so.
Is there a motion to accept the bills?
So
Pay
moved.
the bills.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second on the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and I only need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. There's 2 seconds, so we're good there. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.